The night before the 10th Muharram, the night following the 9th day of Muharram, presented a unique spectacle which has no parallel in the history of the world. A detailed description of the scene of that night in Karbala requires at least a separate chapter. However, only a few important events of the dreadful night are briefly related here. Since his arrival at Karbala on the 2nd Muharram, the Holy Imam used to gather all those who had accompanied him from Makkah and address them after every night prayer, advising them to leave him his own fate and to return to their homes, giving them every assurance that the consequences of his journey would be quite a different one from what had been imagined by them to be. The final shifting Imam Hussain had to offer the sacrifice which had been termed by God himself as Azim, the Great Sacrifice, 37, 104-108. The purity of his body and the divinity of his soul were unquestionable, but those whom he had to offer along with himself in the way of the Lord had to be of some purity worthy to be blessed with the martyrdom. There were the good and the bad ones mixed up in his camp, but what he needed was only a pure and clean stuff to be presented to God along with himself. Many who had accompanied him with selfish intentions had deserted him, and of those still left, the Holy Imam wanted to effect a final shifting, so that only those who desired nothing but the pleasure of the Lord might remain to accompany him in his resignation to the divine will, to resist against the onslaught of the falsehood of the devil. At last, on the 9th Muharram, soon after the enemy's consent to wait till the following morning, the Holy Imam, after the Isha or the night prayers, summoned the remaining people and addressed them thus: I am most pleased with you. I know no companions more loyal or better than my companions, and no household more reverent or pious than my household. So may God bless you for my sake, because you have been good and cooperative. I do not think that the enemies will give us a day more than tomorrow. You are all free, my companions, members of my family, my sons and my nephews, everyone to leave without being liable to anything. I release you from the oath and excuse you all, and you may go. Free from my obligation, the enemy forces have nothing against anyone except me. Do not feel guilty. The night is dark. Take advantage of the darkness of the night and depart. Let each one of you take the hand of one of my household. Leave me to my fate and save yourselves. They will deaf in nightly not stop you. Sharp, without being shremed, of being seen by him. It is reported that as soon as the lamp was put out, all those who had accompanied the Holy Imam from Makkah in their vain hopes of making their own fortune began to desert the Holy Imam in batches, and when the lamp was again lit after a while, there were left only a few here and there, and those who remained constant at the godly band of the Holy 70, 272, who stood fast by the Holy Imam in the battle for truth, to save the human race against its falling into the abyss of falsehood. But these remaining 72 people said unanimously that such a thing was impossible. O son of the Prophet, what will we tell the people? Shall we say that we have abandoned our chief and leader, the son of the daughter of our Prophet, without lancing an arrow for him or stabbing with a spear for him or striking a sword for him? By God, no. O son of the Prophet, we will not leave you until we die before you, and let us share your fate with you for life after you is meaningless. What answer we will give to the Prophet on the day of resurrection? What will happen to loyalty, to humanity, to love and attachment? Their ardent responses and their words said on that occasion melt a heart of stone and are most moving. Abbas the brave said, Is one life worth enough to be sacrificed for someone like you? I wish that I were brought to life 70 times to die 70 times for your sake. Another says, I would lay down 1,000 lives for your sake if I had them. Another companion, sword-son of Abdullah al-Hanafi, who raised, saying, By God, no, O son of the Prophet, we will never abandon you so, that God will know that we have kept our word to his Prophet Muhammad regarding you, and if I know that I would die for your sake, and then live again, then be burnt alive and sprinkled for your sake, and that is done to me 70 times. I will never leave you until I meet my destiny with you. And why would I not do this, when I know that it is only one death, and then I will get the everlasting reward." And then the Imam changed the subject and told them about the events of the next day, informing them that they all would be killed. "I tell you openly now that I will be mercilessly butchered. My brother Abbas will lose both his hands and die on the banks of the river. My 18-year-old son Ali Akbar will die by the lance pierced through his chest. And similarly, every one of my companions who will remain with me here, whether he be a relative or a friend of mine, will be rolling in his own blood and ultimately be slain. Only my son Ali Imam Sajjad, who is sick, will survive to suffer the worst of tortures along with the people of my family." All of them receive it as great good news, but the young 13-year-old Qasim, son of Imam Hassan P.B., wondered if he too would be one of them. He thought to himself, "After all, I am only a boy. Perhaps the Imam means that only the elderly would be martyred. I am just a minor." Therefore he turned to the Imam and asked him, "Will I be among those who will be killed?" The Imam says to him, "Qasim, first let me ask you a question. I will reply after you have answered me. My nephew, tell me, how do you regard death, and what do you think about getting killed?" "It is sweeter to me than honey. I haven't a desire that should be dearer and sweeter to me." After getting this answer, the Imam said to him, "My nephew, you too will be killed. But your death will be different from that of others, and it will be after you have faced a great ordeal. I tell you now, not even my baby son Ali Asghar will be spared. He will receive an arrow on his tiny neck in my own arms and pass away." This small band of godly souls, pure in their spirit and sincere in their desire to fight and fall in the way of the Lord, spent the night in prayers, reciting the Holy Quran and rejoicing in the hope to drink the fast-approaching cup of martyrdom the following morning. Everyone anxiously waited for the break of dawn to lay down his life in the way of the Lord in supporting the cause of truth. The ladies were preparing their young children to be sacrificed along with the holy Imam in upholding the cause of the Lord. The noble male heirs of the family of the Holy Prophet P.B. were busy advising their young sons to be steadfast in facing the might of the enemy in defense of the right, and to lay down their lives cheerfully, and thus to drink the cup of martyrdom in the cause of the correct guidance of the human race. Zainab said to her sons, "My sons, tomorrow there will be a battle. I cannot ask you to fight because you are young, but if anything happens to Imam Hussain while you are still alive, I will be filled with shame." Both the boys stood up and said, "Mother, we have the blood of Ali and Jafar in our veins. Our grandfathers were warriors whose fame will always be remembered. Do you think we can possibly shame them? Moreover, we are the pupils of Uncle Abbas. Mother, unless you forbid us and stop us from fighting, we shall go to the battlefield and show the enemies of Islam how bravely the children of Islam can fight. All we want from you is a promise that you will never weep for us. Our souls will never rest in peace if you grieve for us after we are gone." Tears of joy and pride flowed down Zainab's eyes as she embraced her two boys. When Imam Hussain was passing by Fawaz, the widow of Imam Hassan's tent, he heard Qasim say to his mother, "Mother, tomorrow Uncle Abbas, Ali Akbar and I will defend Imam Hussain. Mother, if I get killed, please do not weep for me." Fawaz replied, "My son, although I dearly love you, I shall not weep for you. Nothing will make me prouder than to see my son give his life for Islam." When Imam Hussain heard this conversation, he prayed to God to bless Qasim and Fawaz. Abbas the brave, guard the camp. Abbas the dauntless lion, stayed beside Imam Hussain ever since they left Medina, and was loved by all the members of the Imam's family. He was so devoted to Imam Hussain that when Shimr, son of Ziljoshan II, in command of Yazid's army, came towards Imam Hussain's camp and called out, "Where are my nephews Abbas, Abdullah?" Jafar and Uthman. Abbas refused to reply. It was only after Imam Hussain told him answer him, because, despite the fact that he is corrupt, He is also one of your relatives." Then Abbas asked Shimr what he wanted. Shimr replied, "O my nephews, I have specially asked Ubayd Allah son of Ziyad for the safety of you all. So why do you wish to kill yourselves with Hussein? Why do you not join the forces of mighty Yazid?" Abbas looked at him with contempt and retorted, "May God's wrath fall upon you and upon your proposition, O enemy of God! How dare you counsel us to desert our master, Imam Hussain and tie ourselves up with the corrupt and misguided Yazid?" Shimr turned round and went away angrily. The camp of the holy Imam contained the ladies and the children of the house of the holy Prophet Apprehending a surprise attack from the enemy forces, which consisted of people who had turned treacherous to the holy Imam and his family, a ditch was dug around the camp, and fire was lighted whole night, and Abbas the brave guarded the camp in a vigil the whole night, walking around it with his sword in his hand, mindful of the safety of the holy Imam and the inmates of the camp, with a vigilant eye on the ranks of the enemy. The night in the Yazidian camp, while the hungry and thirsty devotees of God in the holy Imam's camp spent the night in prayers and the devotional supplicate services to God, the soldiers in Yazidian ranks in the opposite camp spent the whole night in drinking, feasting and making merry in the hope of the promised rewards from Yazid in return for the destruction of the family of the holy Prophet. God alone knows how many thousands of bowls of wine were emptied on that night. The Yazidian forces anxiously awaited the break of the dawn of the next day to effect the brutal slaughter of the holy Imam and the small band of his kith and kin and faithful devotees. The holy Imam's last prayer with his devotees on earth at the break of the dawn of the fateful day, 10th Muharram 61 Hijra, Imam Hussain called his son Ali Akbar, who resembled the holy Prophet, most, and said, "My dear son Ali, let me hear the azan, the call for prayer, for the last time in this world." When Ali Akbar gave the call azan in the Sahara, reporters say that the voice resembled the voice of the holy Prophet, and Imam Hussain, hearing the last azan of his son in the voice of his grandfather, remembering the apostle of God, shed tears, and as the voice of Ali Akbar reached the inmates in the camp, Zainab along with other ladies hear the call for prayer in the sweet enchanting voice of the beautiful son of Imam Hussain It was the third day of the thirst inflicted on the whole camp of the holy Imam. The holy Imam and his devotees performed tayammum instead of wuzu ablution, and the holy Imam offered the last congregational prayers with his devotees on earth. After the prayer is over, in the morning of that day, Umar son of Saud led the attack against Imam Hussain He positioned Amr son of al-Hajj al-Zubaydi on the right wing of the army and Shimr son of Zil-Jorshan on the left wing. And on the infantry he positioned Shibtha son of al-Rubay and gave the banner / standard to his slave Duraid. Then holy Imam ordered all his faithful companions, who were about 72 men, to fall in, and divided his small godly band into 3 flanks, i.e. the right and the left wings and the central body. Imam Hussain appointed Zuhair son of al-Kain as the commander of the army's right wing, and Habib son of Muzahar on the army's left wing. Imam Hussain called his brave brother Abbas, the faithful, and presented to him the holy standard of truth, and thus Abbas from that day came to be known as Abbasi, Lamdar, or Abbas. Standard bearer, they positioned themselves with the houses and tents behind them, 1, where Imam Hussain fell 2, where Abbas the standard bearer fell 3, camp of household of prophets 4, road from Karbala to Kufa 5, village of Gadari 6, bridge to Kufa 7, well dug by Abbas the standard bearer 8, Euphrates Furat river 9. Armies loyal to the Yazid Shimr become angry and shouted as loud as he could, "Why are you in such a hurry for hell?" Imam Hussain replied, "Your mother was a goat herder, you more deserve to roast in it." Then Muslim son of Osaja wanted to shoot him with an arrow, but Imam Hussain Piba stopped him and said, "I hate to start the fight." Then Imam Hussain Piba approached the people with some of his companions and Buraya son of Qudair al-Hamadani in front of him. Imam Hussain Piba said, "Talk to them, Buraya." Then Buraya approached forward and said, "Oh, fear God. Muhammad's household is now between your hands, and those are his children, daughters and women. What do you have to say?" "We want to capture them and let the Prince Ubayd Allah son of Ziyad decide what to do with them." Buraya answered, "Don't you accept that they return back to the place where they came from? Calamity on you citizens of Kufa! Have you forgotten all about your letters and the pledges of allegiance you sworn by God on? Calamity on you citizens of Kufa! You invited the Prophet's household. May God punish you on doomsday." "We don't know what you are talking about," said someone from opposite. Then Buraya said, "Thank God who gave me a better mind than yours. Oh God, I am innocent of their doings. Oh God, let their powers fall on them until they meet you, while you are angry with them." And the troops from opposite started shooting arrows at him. At last, when it became sure that the devilish forces were bent upon a wholesale massacre, Imam Hussain Piba spoke out a rhetorical speech aloud, addressing the men of the Yazidian forces in an apostolic tune as a protest on them on doomsday. The battle of truth against falsehood. Thus the battle of truth against falsehood began. One after another of the godly ones from the holy Imam's side went into the field and laid down his life after exhibiting wonderful bravery, courage, valor, and prowess. It looked as if the thirst, hunger, heat, and the wounds had no effect whatsoever on the patients. The strength and the determination of Imam Hussain Piba's devotees. At last, when the deceitful Yuma son of Sod saw the wonderful fight, he was astonished that each one from the holy Imam's side easily destroyed dozens before he fell, and who proved unconquerable. He ordered a sally in contravention of the solemn agreement entered into the previous night. The bravery and the skill displayed by the faithful supporters of the sacred cause, the matchless resignation to the divine will, and the flawless devotion and the ideal attachment of each one of the hungry and thirsty sufferers of the godly camp to the holy Imam and to the sacred cause of truth, drowned the devil's army and their officers in wonder and astonishment, and they had become so awe-stricken at the miraculous strength and unparalleled courage of the helpless sufferers that they began to dread the very countenance of each of the godly devotees of the holy Imam who came alone into the field and fought and fell in the way of God. Imam Hussein's companions were determined that as long as one of them was alive, they would not allow the blood of Imam Hussain and his family spill in Karbala. From early that morning, Imam Hussain, together with Abbas the Brave, Ali Akbar and others, carried the bodies of their companions back to the camp. Although these brave soldiers did not have their own families to mourn their death, the ladies in Imam Hussein's camp cried for them as if they were part of their own family. Thus, whenever a supporter of the holy cause went against the devil's forces and fell, Imam Hussain, Abbas the Brave, and Ali Akbar would rush out to be by the side of their dying companion, and brought his body back and laid it in a tent, pitched particularly for the martyrs. As the battle for right against might proceeded, and the supporters of the truth fell one after another, the tent containing the bodies of the martyrs was turned into a ganjish, a hidden or the repository of the martyrs. When the dust of the battle settled, around 50 of Imam Hussain Piba's companions were martyred. Wahab and his family, Wahab son of Abdullah al-Kalbi, was a Christian, who was accompanied by his newly married wife and mother. All of them declared their Islam before Imam Hussain Piba on the way to Karbala. During the battle between holy Imam Piba and his enemies, Wahhab's mother said, "My son, go and support the son of God's messenger. That is what I intend to put my best resolve into." Wahhab replied, he rode to the battlefield, saying, "If you deny me, I am the son of al-Kalbi, you'll see me and my fighting, and learn of my strength and steadfastness." Wahhab killed some of them and returned to his mother and said, "Mother, are you satisfied with me? I'll never be satisfied until you are killed for the cause of Imam Hussain Piba." His wife said, "For God's sake, we have just got married. I cannot stand even the thought of your death." His mother interrupted, saying, "Go away from her sight. Don't listen to her. Go back and fight for Imam Hussain Piba. You will earn his grandfather's intercede on doomsday." He got back fighting until he killed 19 knights and another 20 of the infantry. Then his fingers were cut. At that moment his wife carried a pole and rushed towards him, saying, "May my father and my mother be your redemption. Fight for the sake of the women of God's messenger." He tried to make her return back to the women camp, but she held his clothes and said, "I'll never go back until I die with you." Wahhab turned back to her, saying, "Some time ago you were objecting, and now you are urging me to fight. What happened?" She replied, "Wahhab, I have forsaken life since I heard Imam Hussain calling. O my God, oh how few are my resources. I am left alone. Is there anyone to support us?" His voice really broke my heart. Then Wahhab sought assistance from Imam Hussain to tell her to go back to her tent. Imam Hussain said, "May God reward you, and may God have mercy upon you. Go back to the women." So she returned, and Wahhab fought like an angry lion, and he killed so many of the enemies, but the enemies had no choice but to shower him with arrows till he was martyred. The enemies beheaded Wahhab and threw his head beside his wife's tent. His wife came out and started Ed to wipe the blood and dust from Wahhab's face. Shimmer saw her and ordered his slave to strike her. She fell down beside her husband's head, thus becoming the first women to be killed from Imam Hussain's camp. Salat al-Khawf / prayer of fear, as the sun rose higher in the desert sky. The heat became more intense by the minute. The children were crying for water. Some of the remaining companions approached the river banks to get some water, but were stopped by the enemy. They fought bravely and were martyred in battle. Sadly, no water reached the thirsty children of Karbala. It was now midday, and the time for Zuhr prayer was approaching. Imam Hussain Piba asked Hajjaj to make the azan and asked the enemy to cease fighting till they pray. But al-Hussain son of Numair replied, "It will not be accepted from you." But Habib son of Muzahar attacked him and hit the head of his horse. Al-Hussain fell down, but his companions were able to rush and rescue him. The Imam Hussain Piba ordered Zuhair son of Al-Kain and Said son of Abdullah to stand in front of him to shield against the arrows, so that he can perform the prayer of fear with his other companions. In the heat of the battle on the day of Ashura, the Imam offered his prayers hurriedly in the form of Salat al-Khawf, and there was no respite even to offer full prayers. Those two companions who were standing in front fell from the injuries inflicted under the shower of the arrows by the time the prayer ended. The enemy would not even give respite for offering prayers. After that, all his companions came out to fight, one after the other, until they were all martyred. Imam Hussain was left alone with his handful of households only to fight the huge army of Yazid. Ali's sons, Jafar's sons, Aqil's sons, Hassan's sons, and Hussein's sons. The first among them to rush to the battlefield was Abdullah son of Muslim son of Aqil. He fought and was martyred.